Hello everybody, I'm SocietySucks and welcome back to another video. Today I'm checking out Death to Nickels by CGP Grey. I watched this video, Death to Pennies. During that video I went on a bit of a rant about how you may as well just get rid of every coin, nickels, dimes, the half dollar, you know, everything. So let's check out exactly why Grey wants the death of the nickel.
The story of the nickel starts in the first U.S. mint, founded in 1792, which produced these 5-cent pieces along with other coins, including the quarter, dime, penny, and a mystery coin we'll get back to later. Nickels weren't known as nickels then because nickels weren't made of nickel yet. They started made of silver, mostly, same as the 10-cent dime, so this 5-cent coin was called the half dime. But two forces conspired to ensure the proto-nickel wouldn't stay made of silver for long.
Dime.
First, the value of silver went up, and second, inflation pushed buying power down. By Civil War times, the lines crossed and the value of silver in the 5-cent coin was greater than 5 cents. The coins were worth more dead than alive, so people melted them to sell the silver at a profit. To stop this, the mint switched from making the coin with silver super valuable to nickel not so much, renamed it the nickel to make it clear the new coin wasn't worth melting down, and everything was fine, but only for a time, because, again, the value of the metal in the coin continued to go up while inflation pushed the buying power of 5 cents down, way down.
So what did they switch to this time?
Until a nickel was worth nearly nothing compared to its silver start, and thus even the value of the nickel in the nickel grew greater than 5 cents. So again, people melted them down for profit. At this point, in an economically efficient world, the story of the nickel would have ended here, with the government realizing after 2 centuries of inflation the coins weren't worth minting no more, and happy its citizens were profitably removing them from circulation. But instead, the government made melting US coins illegal and continued to mint nickels at negative value. Currently, it takes 5.5 cents of nickel to make a 5-cent nickel. Bad enough, but the cost of creating a coin is not just in the metal to mint it, but also in running the mint to print it. The molds, the machines, the manpower, the management. It all adds up to spending 14 cents to make a nickel, and the government makes 1.5 billion nickels a year.
So you're paying almost the price of 3 nickels just to make 1 nickel. You're losing almost 2 full nickels. That's ridiculous.
A year, which, doing the math, creates $75 million of nickels at a cost of $210 million, a loss of about $135 million a year incurred by the government as it literally prints money. Which, if anything should be profitable, it's printing money.
Yeah.
So if you are...
I mean, 135 million, it's a huge loss, but for the US government, 135 million, it's not as much as you would think. I mean, quite obviously, it's not that much of a problem considering they still keep making them.
Losing money while, this cannot be emphasized enough, literally printing money. You should literally stop. As with the 1-cent penny, cost to make 2 cents. If killing a coin because it loses 1 cent to make is a good idea, then killing the nickel, which loses 9 cents per coin, is a better idea times 9. And
so the nickel loses more than the penny.
There's a better reason to get rid of the nickel. It's no good at its only job, being money. Reminder, governments print physical money to make buying and selling stuff with cash easy for their citizens, that at bare minimum requires each part of that cash to be worth handling, which back in ye olden days, a nickel alone was valuable enough to buy stuff on its own. Nickelodeon is the old-time term for a movie theater, which got the name because the price of entry was a nickel. But that is no more for sure. Now a nickel buys you nothing. Vending machines refuse to take them, so there's nowhere to spend them, leaving the nickel's only use for making exact change. But the time it takes to fiddle to find a 5-cent piece in a pocket is probably net negative. And if there's a line, guaranteed net negative.
See, when I'm paying something that doesn't cost much, I just use my card. Like, I'm not gonna use physical money when I'm gonna have to wait for the cashier to give me my change. That's just no thank you. I'm not doing that. I'm only paying cash if it's a nice rounded amount and it's something expensive. But even then, I buy things almost exclusively online or with my credit card. I'm not buying anything with cash. It just doesn't happen. Because it's too much of a hassle, especially when it comes to change.
Negative on everyone's time. So nickels have nothing going for them. They lose money in the making and lose money in the handling, making them make no sense as money
just like pennies.
It's time to nix the nickel. But if you're worried cutting a coin could have consequences, don't. America has done this before. The mystery coin mentioned at the start, that was the half cent. Seen one lately? Of course you haven't. It was discontinued in 1857 for being worth too little to bother with. But when the half cent met its fate, it had more buying power than today's dime. America seems to have forgotten that it's okay to stop making coins when they're no longer needed. She did it with the half-cent, and she also did it with the trime, a 3-cent coin you've also never seen because
3
once it
cents?
solved the problems it was created to solve, that's a whole other story, America simply stopped making them. So if America could stop making the trime and the half-cent without problem back then, America can stop making the half-dime now too. Nix the nickel. The only effect will be rounding transactions to the nearest 10, simplifying the change, saving time, while saving $135 million a year to do so.
I mean, it's a win-win-win. You no longer waste 135 million on making them. Transactions are going to be easier because you no longer have the annoying 5 cents. And let's assume that the penny's also gone, so you no longer have the 1 cent. Now it's just 10 cents. So it's a win-win. There's no loss here.
Although, if you think about it, there would be one little quirk with getting rid of the nickel in a post-penny America, for only the quarter and dime would remain as common coins, and rounding cash transactions to the nearest 10 would make spending a single quarter or 3 quarters impossible.
Oh yeah, that's also true.
5, a ghost of nickel.
Well, just get rid of quarters
then. You could
then.
only actually spend quarters 2 at a time. Very strange. But try to fix that by rounding to the nearest 5, and that makes the amounts under a quarter, 5 and 15, also impossible.
How about you just get rid of all coins and make every price rounded? That's also an option. It's not like you'll be paying that much more. Let's say something costs 75 cents. Now you'll pay $1 for it. That's 25 cents. That's a bad example because that could actually add up to quite a lot if you're buying a lot of products like that. But let's say something costs 19.75. That's just 25 cents more. Just get rid of all the coins. I wonder if the US loses money on making dimes and quarters. Considering they lose money on pennies and nickels, I'm assuming they might also lose stuff on dimes and quarters. It wouldn't surprise me. So maybe soon enough I'll see another video from Gray. Death to dimes and then death to quarters.
Possible to pay. So what to do? There are options too. Option the first is just kill the quarter too and deal only with dimes.
Exactly.
Maybe bring back the
Or
half dollar.
kill all coins.
Now, as it's minted in amounts only for numismatists. With those 2 coins, all change could round to 10 nice and tidy. But boy would that be annoying, for the half dollar is huge and the dime tiny, almost the smallest coin ever minted, with the exception of the trime from before. Partly killed for its annoying size, not that far off from the dime. So option the second is to keep the quarter. Not only is it the most American of coins, most countries divide their money by fifths to get 20, not fours to get 25. So America is by far the biggest economy to have quarters. And quarters have gotten all the cool designs, probably because quarters are obviously the most useful coin by far, still just valuable enough for some small purchases, and accepted by millions of machines of all kinds. It's also the most cost-effective coin to make, so money can be made literally making this money. How refreshing. The quarter's great, so what if instead, to straighten out this strange change,
what about the dime though?
For once, try to solve a problem before it's a problem and just ditch the dime ahead of its time. There's no need to wait until inflation drives the dime's value down until it's not just worthless, but worth less than 0. We can get ahead of the inevitable, and while ditching the penny and nickel, ditch the dime too. Keep only the quarter and have the world's best, most simple, uniquely American change system. And if your final worry is that rounding to 25 will be too big of a jump, again, back when the penny was first printed, it had more buying power than the quarter does today, at a time when all transactions had to be cash. So if it wasn't a problem then, it really won't be a problem now. So let's do solution the best. America keeps her quarters, but with the penny past its prime, it's next up to nix the nickel, and maybe, just maybe, ditch the dime ahead of its time.
Yeah, so the US really just should get rid of all of its coins, except for the quarter. Though I guess you could also make the argument that they could get rid of that and just round everything up to $1. Though I can see why people would be against that. And since the quarter doesn't lose any money and it's actually quite cost efficient, I guess it makes sense to keep it, at least for the time being, until it eventually at some point probably becomes worthless, just like the penny and the nickel, because that's probably going to happen at some point in time. Now we just have to wait until that eventually happens and Gray makes a video about death to quarters. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you're interested, why not watch this video right here? And with that, I hope I'll see you in the next video.